Charlotte Rivera, the daughter of a billionaire, is on the verge of death on the operating table while giving birth. 15 world-class doctors have tried every possible method, but all of them have failed. As the doctors argue intensely, her desperate father pounds his fist against the wall, watching the life of his daughter slowly slip away. Just as hope turns to ashes, Emma, a black janitor, quietly steps forward and declares, "I can save the baby." A woman with no degree and no medical license. She is immediately subjected to harsh ridicule. Yet only minutes later, a miracle takes place, defying every medical principle those 15 brilliant minds were ever taught. Before we continue, drop your location in the comments and subscribe, because what happens next changes everything. The monitor screamed a high-pitched wail that cut through the sterile air of Manhattan Memorial's 7th floor. Emma's mop stopped mid-stroke on the polished hallway floor, her weathered hands gripping the wooden handle as she pressed her ear against the door of Delivery Room 7. Through the thick wood, voices collided and overlapped, 15 of them, all talking over each other in rising panic, blood pressure dropping to 70/40. Where's the goddamn anesthesiologist? We need to prep for C-section now. Emma's grip tightened around the mop handle, her knuckles going white. 17 years she'd cleaned these halls, 17 years of being invisible, while doctors stepped over her like she was part of the floor itself. But that sound, she knew that sound. The frantic beeping of a fetal heart monitor losing its rhythm, the sound of a life slipping away. Inside the room, someone screamed, and it wasn't the controlled scream of labor that Emma had heard countless times before. This was different. This was the sound of defeat, of a body surrendering to forces beyond its control. She glanced down at her reflection in the polished floor, the floor she'd just spent 20 minutes making shine. An old woman in a gray uniform stared back at her wrinkles, carved deep around tired eyes, hands rough as tree bark from decades of scrubbing and cleaning. The fluorescent lights above flickered once, and in that brief darkness she heard her grandmother's voice, as clear as church bells on Sunday morning. "Silence when you can help is a crime." The monitor's pitch climbed higher, more frantic now, each beep shorter than the last. Emma looked at her mop, then at the door, then at her hands. She'd kept silent for 17 years, had learned to make herself small and invisible in a world that had no use for her beyond clean floors and empty trash cans. But some silences were too heavy to carry. She pushed the door open, and 15 faces turned toward her in perfect unison. White coats everywhere, machines beeping and whirring, IV bags hanging like silent witnesses. On the bed, a young woman convulsed, her pale skin gleaming with sweat, blonde hair plastered to her forehead as her body fought a battle it was losing. "What the hell?" A nurse in blue scrubs rushed forward, her face flushed with anger and stress. "You can't be in here. This is a restricted area. Get that janitor out of here right now." Another voice cut through the chaos, sharp as broken glass. Emma stood her ground, her feet planted firmly on the floor she'd mopped 1,000 times. Her eyes found the girl on the bed, Charlotte. She'd seen her before wandering the maternity ward alone at 3 in the morning, one hand cradling her swollen belly while crying into her phone. Single mother, 23 years old, always alone. No visitors, no support, just a young woman trying to bring life into the world by herself. Behind the wall of doctors, a man in a $1,000 suit pounded his fist against the wall, hard enough to leave a dent in the drywall. Michael Rivera's face had gone crimson, veins bulging in his neck like ropes about to snap. "I paid for the best." His voice cracked with desperation and rage. 15 specialists, you're supposed to be the fucking best doctors in the country. That's what I was told. "Sir, we're doing everything we possibly can," one of the younger doctors started, but Michael cut him off. "Then why is my daughter dying?" He grabbed the nearest doctor by the collar of his white coat, shaking him. "Why can't any of you save my grandchild? What good is all my money if it can't save my own flesh and blood?" Dr. Ashford, the lead obstetrician with silver streaks in her dark hair and more than 2 decades of experience etched in the lines around her eyes, gently but firmly pushed Michael's hands away. "Mr. Rivera, the baby is in posterior position, spine against spine. We have no choice but emergency C-section, but with your daughter's current state." "Then do it. Cut her open. Do whatever you have to do." "We're trying, sir, but the risks are—" The monitor flatlined for 3 long seconds that seemed to stretch into eternity. Charlotte's scream weakened to a whimper, her head rolling to the side as her eyes began to lose focus. Emma stepped forward through the crowd of white coats moving with quiet determination. The nurse grabbed her arm, fingers digging into the fabric of her gray uniform. "I'm calling security. This dirty woman needs to be removed immediately before I can save the baby." 5 words, simple and quiet, but they cut through the chaos like a knife through silk. The room went silent except for the mechanical breathing of the machines and the irregular beeping of the monitors. 15 pairs of eyes locked onto Emma, some curious, most hostile, all disbelieving. Dr. Ashford turned slowly, her expression a mixture of confusion and irritation. "Excuse me, what did you just say?" "I can save the baby." Emma repeated, her accent thick, but her voice steady as a rock. "Without surgery, without cutting." Michael Rivera's laugh was bitter and sharp, the sound of a man pushed to the edge of sanity. "Who the fuck is this woman?" "The janitor," someone muttered from the back of the room, the word dripping with disdain. "The janitor!" Michael's eyes went wide with disbelief before he laughed even harder, a sound bordering on hysterical. "You've got to be kidding me. This is what we've come to, taking medical advice from the cleaning staff." Emma didn't move, didn't blink, didn't acknowledge him at all. Her eyes stayed fixed on Charlotte, watching the young woman's chest rise and fall in shallow, desperate gasps. She could see what the machines couldn't, the exact way the baby was positioned, the angle of the head, the pressure on the spine. "Get her out of here." Michael pointed at the door with a shaking hand. "My daughter is dying, and you're letting the cleaning lady play doctor. I want her arrested. This is medical malpractice waiting to happen." "Mr. Rivera," Dr. Ashford started, but Emma's voice cut through. "Your money can't help your daughter right now." The words hit Michael like a physical blow. His face went from red to purple, his jaw clenching so hard Emma could hear his teeth grinding from across the room. "What did you just say to me?" His voice was dangerously quiet. "I said..." Emma took another step forward, and the doctors parted without even realizing they were doing it, creating a path between her and the bed. "Your money, your 15 specialists, all these machines, none of it matters if the baby stays in that position. The baby is dying because nobody here knows how to fix what's wrong." Dr. Ashford's hand went up, silencing the protests that were about to erupt from the other doctors. She moved closer to Emma, her sharp eyes studying the older woman's face with intense curiosity. "What position do you think the baby is in?" "I don't think. I know." Emma pointed at Charlotte without looking away from the doctor's gaze. "Baby is face up, occiput posterior, spine pressed against mother's spine, stuck in the left side of the pelvis, the head tilted at the wrong angle. The baby can't descend, can't turn, can't be born this way." "Doctor?" Ashford's face went pale, all the color draining from her cheeks as she turned to look at the ultrasound screen mounted on the wall. The image showed exactly what Emma had just described down to the millimeter. "How could you possibly?" The doctor's voice trailed off into stunned silence. "How does a janitor know that?" Michael snarled, stepping forward aggressively. "She probably overheard you talking earlier. This is ridiculous." "I heard nothing," Emma said calmly. "I felt it, the same way my grandmother felt it, and her mother before her." "Felt it?" Michael looked around at the doctors, his expression pleading for someone to restore sanity to the room. "Is everyone in this hospital insane? Are we really going to trust some superstitious nonsense over actual medical science?" Charlotte coughed a wet, rattling sound that made everyone freeze. Blood flecked her lips, tiny droplets that looked black under the harsh lights. Her hand reached out blindly, fingers grasping at empty air, searching for something, anything to hold on to in the darkness that was closing in around her. Emma moved to the bedside with surprising speed for a woman her age. A nurse tried to block her path, but Emma gently moved her aside, with a strength that seemed to come from somewhere deep and ancient. She took Charlotte's hand in both of hers, and the young woman's eyes focused for the first time in an hour. She looked at Emma, really looked at her, and something passed between them, an understanding that went beyond words or medical degrees or social class. "Please," Charlotte whispered, her voice barely audible over the machines. "Please save my baby. I don't care how. Just save my baby." "I will," Emma said, squeezing her hand with gentle firmness. "But you must trust me. You must let go of fear and trust." "Don't listen to her." Michael pushed forward, his expensive shoes squeaking on the floor. "Charlotte, you're delirious from the pain. We need surgery. Now these people know what they're doing." Charlotte's grip on Emma's hand tightened with surprising strength for someone so weak. She turned her head toward her father, and when she spoke, her voice was stronger than it had been in hours. "Dad, I'm dying either way, aren't I?" "Don't say that, sweetheart, don't you dare." "Aren't I?" Her voice grew even stronger, fueled by desperate clarity. "The monitor stopped. I heard it. I felt my baby stop moving. I felt it." Dr. Ashford opened her mouth to offer reassurance, then closed it again. The truth was written plainly on her face in the way her eyes couldn't quite meet Michael's gaze. Charlotte pulled Emma closer, using strength she didn't know she still had. "You really think you can help? You're not just saying that." Emma nodded, her weathered face completely calm. "I have delivered 100 babies with these hands. Before I came to America, before I learned to be invisible." 100. Dr. Ashford's eyebrows shot up in genuine surprise. "Where? In what capacity?" "In El Salvador." Emma held up her hands, turning them so everyone could see. They were calloused and scarred, the knuckles swollen from years of scrubbing floors and washing dishes, old burn marks from cooking fires visible on her wrists. These hands caught babies before there were machines to do the work, before there were hospitals with bright lights and loud alarms, when it was just a woman, a baby, and the knowledge passed down through generations. Michael stepped between them, his body blocking Emma from his daughter. "Absolutely not. I will not. I will not let some uneducated cleaning woman experiment on my daughter like she's some kind of guinea pig." "It's not your choice, Dad." Everyone turned to Charlotte. She was sitting up now, shaking violently, but with her jaw set in determination, the same stubborn expression her father wore when he closed business deals. "It's mine," she said, her voice ringing clear despite her weakness. "My baby, my body, my choice, and I choose to try." "Charlotte." Michael's voice broke, but his daughter's hand was already reaching past him toward Emma. "Dad, you've bought me everything my whole life," Charlotte said, tears streaming down her pale cheeks. "Every doctor, every specialist, every machine in this room. But you can't buy me out of this. You can't fix this with money." Michael's hands were shaking now, his expensive watch catching the fluorescent light as he ran his fingers through his graying hair. "Sweetheart, please be reasonable. This woman cleans toilets for a living. She has no medical training, no license, no—" "I have something better than a license," Emma said quietly. "I have knowledge that your doctors lost when they started trusting machines more than their own hands." Dr. Ashford was staring at Emma with an expression caught somewhere between professional skepticism and desperate curiosity. "You said external cephalic version using your grandmother's method. Can you explain exactly what that means?" "I can show you better than I can explain," Emma replied. "But first, tell me what you see on that screen." Dr. Ashford glanced at the ultrasound monitor, her lips pressing into a thin line. "Baby is in complete occiput posterior position. The skull is pressing against the mother's sacrum, creating intense back labor. The head is asynclitic, tilted to the left. In this position, vaginal delivery is virtually impossible without severe trauma to both mother and child. And your solution is to cut her open." "Our solution is to save their lives," Dr. Ashford shot back, but there was uncertainty creeping into her voice. Emma moved closer to the monitor, her cleaning uniform looking absurdly out of place among all the white coats. She pointed at the screen without touching it. "You see the baby's shoulder right there?" Dr. Ashford leaned in. "Yes, what about it?" "It's caught under the pubic bone. That's why the head won't descend. You cut her open now, you'll have the same problem. Baby won't come out easily. You'll have to pull hard. Risk of brachial plexus injury is high. Maybe permanent nerve damage to the arm." The room went silent. Dr. Ashford's face had gone even paler. "How could you possibly know that from looking at?" one of the younger doctors started. "Because I've seen it before," Emma interrupted. 37 years ago. A woman named Rosa. The American doctors came to our village with their machines, said they needed to cut her. My grandmother refused to let them. She turned the baby with her hands, and Rosa walked out of that room carrying a healthy child. "This isn't some village in Central America," Michael snapped. "This is Manhattan Memorial Hospital, one of the best in the world." "Then why is your daughter still dying?" Emma's question hung in the air like smoke. Charlotte coughed again, harder this time. Blood spattered onto the white sheets. The monitor's beeping grew more erratic. "We're out of time," Dr. Ashford said, but she wasn't moving toward the surgical instruments. She was still watching Emma. "If you're going to try something, it needs to be now." "Wait, you're actually considering this?" A male doctor with a Harvard pin on his lapel stepped forward. "Dr. Ashford, this is insane. We could all lose our licenses." The liability alone. The liability of doing nothing is death, Emma said simply. Michael grabbed his daughter's hand, his voice dropping to a desperate whisper. Charlotte, baby, please listen to me. I can't lose you. Not like I lost your mother. Please don't do this. Charlotte looked at her father, and for a moment Emma saw the love between them, complicated, messy, but real. Then Charlotte shook her head. Mom died because the doctors didn't listen to her. She told them something was wrong, and they ignored her because they thought they knew better. Charlotte's voice was steady, now almost eerily calm. I'm not making that mistake. I'm listening to my body, and my body is telling me to trust this woman. Based on what? Michael's voice rose again. Based on some feeling, some instinct. Based on the fact that she knew exactly what was wrong without looking at a single machine. Dr. Ashford said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. She met their stares with a level gaze. I've been practicing obstetrics for 22 years. I've never seen anyone diagnose asynclitic presentation by standing outside a closed door. It's a lucky guess, the Harvard doctor protested. Then let her guess again, Dr. Ashford said. She turned to Emma. Tell me without looking at the monitor, what's the baby's heart rate right now? Emma closed her eyes. She stood perfectly still for 5 seconds, and the room held its breath. 104. Dropping. In 20 seconds, it will be 98. Dr. Ashford's eyes flicked to the monitor. 104 beats per minute, the number glowing red on the screen. She started counting silently, her lips moving. 20 seconds later, the number changed. 98. Jesus Christ, someone whispered. Michael stared at Emma like she'd just materialized out of thin air. How did you? That's impossible. Nothing is impossible, Emma said. You just forgot how to listen. Dr. Ashford made a decision. Emma could see it happening in real time, the way the doctor's shoulders straightened and her jaw set. Mr. Rivera, I'm going to be completely honest with you. If we proceed with emergency C-section right now, given your daughter's deteriorating condition and the baby's position, I give them a 60% chance of survival, maybe less. And if we let her try, Michael's voice was barely a whisper. I don't know, Dr. Ashford admitted, but I know that everything we've tried hasn't worked, so either we do something different or we watch them die. The words hit like a hammer. Michael's knees buckled slightly, and he grabbed the edge of the bed to steady himself. You have 5 minutes, he finally said, the words seeming to cost him everything. 5 minutes. If anything at all goes wrong, we stop immediately and do the surgery. Agreed? Emma nodded. Agreed. And if this goes south, Michael added, his voice hardening with the tone of a man used to making threats. If my daughter or my grandchild is harmed because of what you do here, I will destroy you. I will sue you for everything you have and everything you'll ever have. I will make sure you never work again, not even cleaning toilets. Do you understand me? Emma looked him straight in the eye. I understand that you're a father who's scared of losing his child. I understand because I lost mine. My daughter died in childbirth because I wasn't there to help her. Because I was here in America cleaning floors to send money home. Her voice didn't waver. So yes, Mr. Rivera, I understand exactly what's at stake. The room went silent. Michael's face crumpled, all the bluster draining out of him in an instant. Emma turned and walked to the industrial sink in the corner. She removed her yellow rubber cleaning gloves, the same ones she'd worn for 17 years, and let them fall into the trash. Underneath, her hands were mapped with scars. Old burn marks from cooking fires, deep calluses from washing clothes by hand in river water. A long white line across her left palm from a machete accident when she was 12. She scrubbed her hands methodically with antibacterial soap, the way she'd watched the doctors do it thousands of times. The water ran hot, almost scalding, but she didn't flinch. When she turned back, Charlotte was watching her with something that looked like hope, mixed with terror. This will hurt, Emma said, approaching the bed. Not like the contractions. Different. Like pressure, like someone pushing down hard on your belly. I don't care, Charlotte whispered. Save my baby. That's all I care about. Emma placed her hands on Charlotte's swollen belly, and the young woman gasped, not from pain, from surprise. Emma's hands were warm, almost hot, and despite their roughness, there was a gentleness to the touch that none of the clinical examinations had possessed. The baby knows you're scared, Emma said softly. Babies feel everything. Your fear makes them afraid, too. Makes them curl up tighter. How do I stop being scared? You don't. You just breathe through it. Emma's hands moved slowly across Charlotte's belly, feeling searching. Like this. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Slow. Steady. Charlotte tried to copy her breathing. It was ragged at first, broken by pain and fear, but gradually it smoothed out. The doctors watched in silence. Some were skeptical, arms crossed. Others were leaning forward, genuinely curious. Emma's fingers found what she was looking for, a hard round shape beneath the skin. The baby's head tilted at the wrong angle. She pressed gently, and Charlotte winced. "Now I know exactly where everything is," Emma said. She looked at Dr. Ashford. "Watch the monitor. When the next contraction comes, the baby's heart rate will drop to 85. After it passes, we'll have a 40-second window before the next one. That's when I turn." 40 seconds isn't enough time for, the Harvard doctor started. "It is if you know what you're doing." Emma cut him off. The contraction hit. Charlotte's scream filled the room, her back arching off the bed. The monitor showed the heart rate plummeting, 90, 88, 86, 85. "Exactly 85, Dr. Ashford murmured, stunned. The contraction passed. Charlotte collapsed back onto the bed, gasping. "Now," Emma said. Her hands moved with surprising speed, one pressing firmly on the top of Charlotte's belly, the other cradling the bottom. She pushed and rotated simultaneously, her movements practiced and sure. Charlotte cried out, but it was different from before, sharp and startling rather than agonized. "Heart rate dropping again," someone called out. 90, 85, 80. "Wait," Dr. Ashford said, her eyes locked on the ultrasound screen. "Wait, the position is changing. The head is rotating. She's actually—" A soft click sound barely audible over the machines. Emma stepped back, her face glistening with sweat. "Check now." Dr. Ashford's hands trembled as she adjusted the ultrasound probe, her eyes widening with each passing second. The baby is in anterior position, perfect anterior. The head is fully engaged in the pelvis. "That's impossible," the Harvard doctor breathed. "That kind of rotation takes surgical intervention, or at minimum a full version procedure with tocolytics, and it takes knowing what your hands are doing," Emma said quietly. She was breathing hard, leaning against the bed for support. The simple movement had taken more out of her than she'd expected. Charlotte was staring at her own belly like it belonged to someone else. "I felt it. I felt the baby move. It didn't hurt the way I thought it would. It felt right." Emma smiled, the lines around her eyes deepening. "The baby wanted to turn. Babies always want to be born the right way. They just need help sometimes." Michael had gone completely still, his face unreadable. He looked at the monitor, then at Emma, then back at the monitor, as if trying to reconcile what his eyes were telling him with what his mind believed possible. "The heart rate is stabilizing," Dr. Ashford announced, her professional composure cracking slightly. 120, 125, 130. That's perfect. That's exactly where it should be." A collective exhale filled the room. Several of the younger doctors were staring at Emma with expressions of wonder and confusion, like children watching a magic trick they couldn't figure out. Emma turned away from their stares and moved back to the sink. She needed to lean against it, her legs suddenly weak. The room tilted slightly, and she gripped the cold metal edge until her knuckles went white. In her mind, she was 12 years old again, standing in a dim room, lit only by kerosene lamps, watching her grandmother's hands move over a woman's belly with the same confident certainty. "Feel the baby's spirit," Abuela Lu had whispered in Spanish, guiding young Emma's small hands. "Don't fight against it. Dance with it. The baby knows the way, but sometimes the path is blocked. We just clear the path." "But how do you know where to push, Abuela?" "You don't think, mija. You listen. The baby tells you everything you need to know if you're quiet enough to hear." Emma had learned that night and in hundreds of nights after. She'd learned by candlelight, by moonlight, by the harsh light of dawn, when a labor had gone all night. She'd learned which pressure points would ease pain, which position would help a stuck baby descend, which gentle manipulation could turn a breech presentation into a safe delivery. And then she'd come to America, and all of that knowledge had meant nothing. No one wanted an uneducated immigrant woman from El Salvador delivering their babies. They wanted doctors with degrees from Harvard and Johns Hopkins. They wanted machines that went beep and screens that showed pictures. So Emma had picked up a mop instead. "Are you all right?" Emma blinked back to the present. Dr. Ashford was standing beside her, concern etched on her face. "I'm fine," Emma said, straightening up, but her hands were shaking. "What you just did." Dr. Ashford stopped choosing her words carefully. "I've read about these techniques in historical medical texts. traditional birth practices from various cultures. Most modern obstetricians dismiss them as outdated or dangerous. Most modern obstetricians have forgotten that women gave birth for thousands of years before machines. Emma replied. The knowledge didn't disappear. You just stopped listening to it. Teach me. Emma turned to look at her surprised. What? Teach me how you did that, Dr. Ashford said, and there was no condescension in her voice, only genuine humility. I've been practicing for over 20 years, and I couldn't have accomplished what you just did. I need to understand how. Before Emma could respond, Charlotte's voice cut through the room. Oh God, something's happening. Everyone's attention snapped back to the bed. Charlotte's face had gone red, her hands gripping the rails so hard her knuckles were white. Pressure, she gasped. So much pressure. Like I need to push. Emma finished for her. She moved back to the bedside with renewed energy. The baby is ready. Your body is ready. Now you listen to what it's telling you. Already, Michael looked panicked. But it's only been... The baby waited long enough, Emma said. She looked at Dr. Ashford. Check her. Dr. Ashford performed a quick examination, her eyebrows shooting up, fully dilated, completely effaced. The head is at +2 station. She's ready to deliver right now. How is that possible? The Harvard doctor demanded. She was only at 6 centimeters 20 minutes ago. The baby was blocking its own way down, Emma explained patiently. Once we moved it, everything else could progress naturally. The body knows what to do. It always has. Another contraction hit, and Charlotte bore down instinctively, her whole body working with a force that seemed to come from somewhere primal and ancient. That's it, Emma encouraged, one hand on Charlotte's knee, the other supporting her back. Don't hold your breath. Breathe through it. Your baby needs oxygen. Charlotte followed Emma's instructions, her breathing harsh but steady. The contraction passed, and she collapsed back, sweat-soaked and trembling. I can't, she whimpered. I can't do this. I'm too tired. You are doing it, Emma said firmly. You're stronger than you think. Stronger than your father's money. Stronger than these machines. You're bringing life into the world. There is no strength greater than that. Michael had moved to the other side of the bed, taking his daughter's hand. For once, he was silent, watching his child labor with an expression of awe and helplessness. Next contraction, Dr. Ashford said, I'm going to see the head crowning. Charlotte, when you feel the urge to push, give it everything you have. The contraction built slowly this time, and Charlotte worked with it, her face contorting with effort. Emma murmured encouragement in Spanish words of strength passed down from her grandmother, from her great-grandmother, from generations of women who had guided life into the world. The head is crowning. Dr. Ashford's voice carried excitement, now professional detachment, giving way to the raw miracle of birth. Charlotte, you're doing it. Don't push on this one, just breathe. Pant if you need to. Charlotte panted desperately, her whole body shaking with the effort of not pushing. Good, Dr. Ashford coached. I'm checking for the cord. No cord around the neck. We're clear. Okay, next contraction, we're going to meet your baby. Emma stepped back slightly, giving the medical team room to work. This was their domain now. She'd done what she came to do, cleared the path. The rest was between Charlotte and her child. The final contraction hit like a wave, and Charlotte pushed with a sound that was half roar, half sob. Dr. Ashford guided the baby's head, then the shoulders, and suddenly, a baby's cry pierced the air, sharp, indignant, utterly alive. The sound froze everyone in place. It was the kind of cry that erased everything else, all the tension, all the fear, all the bitter arguments about class and education and who had the right to save a life. Dr. Ashford lifted the baby up a slippery, wriggling bundle of furious humanity. It's a girl, she announced, her voice thick with emotion she didn't bother to hide. A beautiful, perfect little girl. Charlotte's hands reached out, and Dr. Ashford placed the baby on her chest. The infant's cries softened to whimpers as skin touched skin, as the erratic beating of her tiny heart synchronized with the steady rhythm of her mother's. "Oh my God!" Charlotte whispered, her hands cradling the small head with infinite gentleness. "Oh my God, she's here. She's really here." Michael stood frozen, staring at his granddaughter with an expression that cycled through shock, relief, and something that might have been shame. His mouth opened and closed several times before any sound came out. 10 fingers, one of the younger doctors called out, performing the initial assessment. 10 toes. APGAR score is 9. She's perfect. Emma watched from her position near the sink, her chest tight with an emotion she couldn't quite name. The baby's cries had softened to small grunts and squeaks as she rooted around on her mother's chest, already searching for food with the single-minded determination of the newly born. 104 heartbeats, Emma murmured to herself, watching the baby's chest rise and fall. Strong, like her mother. Dr. Ashford was working efficiently, delivering the placenta and checking for tears. "Minor abrasions only," she announced. "Nothing that requires stitches. This was about as textbook as a delivery gets." Textbook. The Harvard doctor finally found his voice. Nothing about this was textbook. This was... He looked at Emma, and for the first time there was no condescension in his gaze. "I don't even know what to call it. My grandmother called it listening," Emma said. She was edging toward the door, now her work done. "Maybe you should try it sometime." "Wait." Charlotte's voice stopped her. "Please don't go." Emma turned back. Charlotte was looking at her over the baby's head, tears streaming down her face. "I don't even know your name," Charlotte said. "Emma. Emma Rodriguez." "Emma." Charlotte tested the name, then smiled. "I'm going to remember that forever. The name of the woman who saved my daughter's life." "You saved her," Emma corrected gently. "You trusted your body. You trusted yourself. That's what saved her." "But you showed me how." Charlotte adjusted the baby slightly, and the infant let out a small squeak of protest before settling again. "I was so scared. Everyone kept telling me what to do, how to do it, and none of it felt right. But when you touched me, it felt right, like my body finally knew what it was supposed to do." Emma nodded. She understood that feeling, the moment when instinct overrode fear, when the body remembered what the mind had forgotten. Michael cleared his throat. Everyone turned to look at him. He was staring at Emma, his jaw working as if he was chewing on words he didn't want to say. "I was wrong," he finally managed. The words seemed to cause him physical pain. "I was wrong about you." Emma didn't respond, just watched him with those dark, patient eyes that had seen too much to be impressed by apologies from rich men. "I said terrible things." Michael continued, his voice getting stronger. "I called you. I questioned your—" He stopped, running his hand over his face. "Jesus Christ. I was ready to have you arrested for saving my daughter's life." "You were scared," Emma said simply. "Fear makes people cruel sometimes." "That's not an excuse." "No," Emma agreed. "It's not." Michael pulled out his wallet, extracting a checkbook. His hands were shaking as he uncapped a gold pen. "How much? Name your price. Whatever you want." Emma's expression didn't change. "I don't want your money, Mr. Rivera." "Please," Michael said, and the words seemed to cost him everything. "Let me do something. I need to do something." "What you need to do is hold your granddaughter," Emma said, "and remember that the most valuable things in life can't be bought." She started toward the door again, but Dr. Ashford stepped in front of her. "You can't just leave," the doctor said. "What you did here, Emma, that was extraordinary. I've never seen anything like it." "You have seen it," Emma corrected. "You've read about it in your textbooks. You just didn't believe it still worked. Then teach us," Dr. Ashford said urgently. "Teach us how to do what you do, how to listen to the baby, how to feel the position without machines, how to be midwives instead of mechanics." Emma's smile was sad. "Your hospitals don't want midwives. They want machines that can bill insurance and doctors with fancy degrees." "I want to learn," Dr. Ashford insisted, "and I'm not the only one." Emma looked around the room. Several of the younger doctors were nodding their earlier skepticism, replaced by genuine curiosity. Even the Harvard doctor was listening intently. "My shift ends in 20 minutes, Emma said. "After that, I have another floor to clean. Tomorrow I work the night shift. The day after, I have 2 double shifts back to back." She held up her scarred hands. "This is what I do now. This is what America wanted from me." "That's about to change," Michael said. His voice had shifted, taking on the hard edge of a man making a business decision. "Dr. Ashford, who runs this department, Dr. Sterling is the chief of obstetrics, but get him in here. Now." "Mr. Rivera, I don't think—" "Now," Michael repeated, and this time it wasn't a request. 10 minutes later, Dr. Sterling arrived, a portly man with silver hair and an expression of practiced patience that came from decades of dealing with demanding patients. His smile was professional and slightly condescending. "Mr. Rivera, I heard there was some excitement with your daughter's delivery. I'm glad everything turned out well, but I'm afraid I'm in the middle of a departmental meeting, and you're going to cancel that meeting," Michael said flatly. Dr. Sterling's smile tightened. "I'm sorry." You're going to cancel your meeting, and you're going to listen to what I have to say." Michael pointed at Emma. "This woman just performed a successful external cephalic version on my daughter without medication, without assistance, and without any of the modern medical technology your department prides itself on. She did it with nothing but her hands, and knowledge that's apparently been forgotten by modern medicine." Dr. Sterling glanced at Emma, taking in her gray uniform and work-worn appearance. "Mr. Rivera, I'm sure our staff did an excellent job under difficult circumstances, but your staff was about to cut my daughter open," Michael interrupted. "Emma here turned the baby by hand and made that unnecessary. Do you understand what I'm telling you?" "I understand that you're emotional after a stressful experience," Dr. Sterling said carefully, "but our protocols exist for a reason. Emergency C-sections save lives." "So do trained midwives," Dr. Ashford interjected. "Dr. Sterling, what Mr. Rivera is trying to tell you is that we almost performed unnecessary surgery because we didn't know how to do something that was standard practice 50 years ago." Dr. Sterling's expression hardened. "Dr. Ashford, I don't appreciate the implication that our department is somehow deficient in." "Your department has a 42% C-section rate," Michael cut in. The number hung in the air like an accusation. "I looked it up while Charlotte was laboring. 42%. The World Health Organization recommends 10 to 15%. Those statistics don't take into account the complexity of cases we handle." "Doctor," Sterling said defensively, "we're a major metropolitan hospital. We see the most difficult. And how many of those difficult cases are difficult because you've forgotten how to handle normal birth?" Emma spoke for the first time since Dr. Sterling had entered. Her voice was quiet, but it carried weight. Dr. Sterling turned to her, irritation flashing across his face. "I'm sorry, but who are you exactly?" "She's the woman who's about to become your new special consultant," Michael said. Before anyone could protest, he continued, "I'm prepared to donate $10 million to this hospital's obstetrics department. The money will fund a new traditional birth practices center with Emma as the lead specialist." The room went silent. "Mr. Rivera," Dr. Sterling said slowly, "I appreciate your generosity, but we can't simply—" $10 million, Michael repeated, "but only if Emma runs the program, only if she has full authority to train your staff in traditional birth techniques, only if she's given the respect and resources she needs to do her job properly." Dr. Sterling's face had gone through several interesting color changes. "Mr. Rivera, this woman has no medical degree. She has no credentials that would allow her to practice medicine in this hospital. The liability alone is covered by my donation," Michael said. "I'll personally guarantee any malpractice insurance. I'll sign whatever papers you need. But this happens or my money goes somewhere else." Emma stood near the corner of the room, one hand still resting on the mop she'd retrieved from the hallway. The tool felt foreign to her now, like something from another life, even though she'd been holding it less than an hour ago. Charlotte's baby had quieted completely, making small, snuffling sounds against her mother's chest. The infant's tiny fist was clenched around a fold of the hospital gown, holding on with the fierce determination of someone who'd fought hard to enter this world. "This is absurd," Dr. Sterling was saying, his face flushed. "Mr. Rivera, I understand you're grateful, but you can't simply buy someone a position in a major hospital. There are regulations, credentialing requirements, professional standards." "Professional standards that almost killed my daughter," Michael shot back. His voice was quiet now, which somehow made it more dangerous. "Professional standards that had 15 of your best doctors standing around while my grandchild was dying because nobody remembered how to turn a baby. That's not fair." "Fair." Michael laughed, harsh and bitter. "You want to talk about fair? This woman has been cleaning your floors for 17 years. 17 years of being invisible, while she carried knowledge that could have saved how many mothers? How many babies?" Dr. Sterling opened his mouth, then closed it again. He looked at Dr. Ashford, searching for support, but the lead obstetrician was watching Emma with an expression of deep respect. "It's not about fairness," Dr. Ashford said quietly. "It's about outcomes. And the outcome here is that a 70-year-old janitor just performed a procedure that I, with all my training, all my degrees, all my experience, couldn't do." "She got lucky," Dr. Sterling insisted. "Lucky," Dr. Ashford's voice rose. "She diagnosed the exact position of the baby without an ultrasound. She predicted the fetal heart rate to the exact number. She performed a version in under 40 seconds with no medication and no complications. That's not luck. That's skill." "Skill that can't be verified," Dr. Sterling argued. We have no way of knowing where she learned these techniques, no way of ensuring patient safety. Then watch me work, Emma said. All eyes turned to her. Give me 3 months. Let me train your doctors. Let me show them what I know. If, after 3 months, you don't see better outcomes, lower C-section rates, healthier mothers, then I go back to cleaning floors. But if I can prove that this knowledge works, that it saves lives, you give me a real position, with credentials, with respect. Dr. Sterling was quiet for a long moment. Emma could see him calculating, weighing the benefit of $10 million against the disruption to his carefully ordered department. 3 months, he finally said. But you work under strict supervision. Every patient you touch is monitored. Every technique you use is documented. And at the first sign of complications, I go back to my mop. Emma finished. I understand. No. Michael's voice was firm. That's not the agreement. The agreement is that Emma gets 3 months to prove herself. And if she succeeds when she succeeds, she gets a permanent position as traditional birth consultant with full hospital credentials. I can't promise that, Dr. Sterling said. Then I can't promise $10 million. Michael crossed his arms. Your choice, doctor. Dr. Sterling looked at Charlotte, who was watching the entire exchange while absently stroking her daughter's back. Miss Rivera, what's your opinion on all this? You're the patient after all. Charlotte didn't hesitate. Emma saved my life. She saved my daughter's life. I don't care what degree she has or doesn't have. I care that she knew what to do when everyone else was ready to give up. So yes, I think she should train every doctor in this hospital. I think every woman who walks through those doors deserves to have someone who can do what she did. See? Michael said. The patient agrees. Dr. Sterling sighed heavily. Fine. 3 months. But Emma, you'll need to undergo orientation health screenings, background checks. I've worked here for 17 years, Emma pointed out. You already have my background check. For janitorial staff, yes. This is different. Why? Emma's question was simple, direct. Because now you're actually paying attention to who I am. The words landed like a slap. Dr. Sterling's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. Dr. Ashford stepped forward. I'll supervise her personally. I'll ensure everything is documented properly, that all protocols are followed. And I'll be her first student. I'll be the second, said one of the younger doctors, the woman who'd tried to remove Emma from the room earlier. Her face was red, but her voice was steady. I want to learn how to do what you did. Third, said another doctor. Within moments, 8 of the 15 physicians in the room had volunteered to train under Emma. Even the Harvard doctor was looking thoughtful, though he hadn't spoken up. Dr. Sterling looked around at his staff, realization dawning on his face. You're all serious about this? Dead serious, Dr. Ashford confirmed. Our C-section rate is embarrassing. Our maternal satisfaction scores are dropping. We need to do better, and Emma can teach us how. She's a janitor, Dr. Sterling said weakly, but the fight had gone out of his voice. She's a healer, Charlotte said from the bed, and she's about to be a lot more than that. Emma felt something crack inside her chest, something that had been frozen for 17 years. She looked down at her hands, at the scars and calluses, and for the first time in longer than she could remember, she didn't see the hands of a cleaning woman. She saw her grandmother's hands. She saw the hands of every woman in her family who'd brought life into the world with nothing but knowledge and courage. Thank you, she said quietly, but I have one condition. Michael raised an eyebrow. You're in a position to make conditions. Yes. Emma met his gaze steadily. The program can't just be about technique. It has to be about respect. Respect for traditional knowledge. Respect for the women who carry it. Respect for the mothers and babies we serve. She paused. And it has to be available to everyone, not just the people who can afford Manhattan Memorial Hospital. What do you mean? Dr. Sterling asked. I mean free clinics, community outreach, training for midwives and doulas who serve poor communities. Emma's voice grew stronger. My grandmother's knowledge didn't just belong to people who could pay for it. It belonged to everyone who needed it. That's how it stays alive. Michael was nodding slowly. I like it. The Rivera Foundation for Traditional Birth Practices. We'll fund it all, the hospital program, the community clinics, the training programs. 15 million, Emma said. Michael blinked. What? If you're serious about this, it needs 15 million. 10 for the hospital, 5 for community programs. Emma smiled slightly. That's my condition. For a moment, Michael just stared at her. Then he laughed, a real laugh, this time not bitter or angry, but genuinely amused. You just negotiated me up $5 million. I think I'm starting to understand why you survived 17 years in New York." "I didn't just survive," Emma said. "I learned. I watched. I waited for the right moment." She looked around at the faces watching her doctors who'd ignored her for years, administrators who'd never known her name, a young mother holding the baby Emma had helped bring into the world. "This is the right moment." Dr. Sterling pulled out his phone. "I'll need to run this by the board, but given the circumstances and the size of the donation, I don't anticipate problems. Emma, you'll start next Monday." "I'll start training tomorrow," Emma corrected. "I still have floors to clean tonight, but tomorrow I begin teaching." "Tomorrow's Saturday," Dr. Sterling said. "Babies don't care what day it is," Emma replied, "and neither do I." Charlotte laughed weakly from the bed. "I like her. Can she be my baby's godmother?" Emma moved to the bedside, looking down at the sleeping infant. The baby's face was still red and scrunched her tiny chest, rising and falling with rapid breaths. "Perfect. Absolutely perfect." "What's her name?" Emma asked. Charlotte looked up at her father. "I was going to name her after my mother, Michelle. But now—" She trailed off, then smiled. "Now, I think I'm going to name her Luz. It means light in Spanish, right?" Emma's breath caught. Luz, the same name her grandmother had given her daughter Emma's mother. "It means light." Emma confirmed, her voice thick. "It's a beautiful name." "Luz Michelle Rivera," Charlotte said, testing it out. "My little light." She looked at Emma. "Will you really be her godmother?" Emma had to swallow hard before she could answer. "I would be honored." Michael was quiet, watching the exchange with an expression Emma couldn't quite read. Then he did something that shocked everyone in the room. He knelt down. Right there on the floor of the delivery room, this billionaire in his $1,000 suit got down on his knees in front of Emma. "I'm sorry," he said, and his voice broke on the words. "I'm so sorry for what I said, for how I treated you. You saved my family and I—" He stopped, wiping at his eyes. "I was ready to have you thrown in jail. I called you Jesus, the things I called you." Emma placed her hand on his shoulder. "You were a father protecting his child. I understand that. That doesn't make it right." "No," Emma agreed, "but it makes it human. And humans make mistakes. What matters is what you do after." Michael looked up at her, tears streaming down his face. 15 million. 20 if you need it. Whatever it takes to make sure no one else ever treats you the way I did. Whatever it takes to make sure this knowledge doesn't die." Emma helped him to his feet. "We have an agreement then. But Mr. Rivera, I need you to understand something. This isn't about me. This is about every woman who's been told her knowledge doesn't matter because she doesn't have the right degree. Every immigrant who's been told to forget what they know because it's not modern enough. Every grandmother whose wisdom is dismissed as superstition." "I understand," Michael said, "and I'll spend the rest of my life making it right." Dr. Ashford stepped forward. "Emma, before you leave, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "When you placed your hands on Charlotte's belly, what did you feel? What told you exactly where the baby was?" Emma thought about how to explain it. "Have you ever played an instrument?" Dr. Ashford looked confused by the question. "Piano. When I was younger." "When you play, do you think about every finger movement, every note?" "No. Eventually it becomes muscle memory. You just feel it." "That's what this is," Emma said. "Except instead of music, you're feeling life. The baby's heartbeat, the tightness of the uterus, the way the mother's body responds to pressure. You learn to read it the way you read sheet music. And once you learn, you never forget." "Can you teach that?" "I can try," Emma said, "but it takes time. It takes patience. It takes believing that sometimes the old ways work better than the new ones." "I'm ready to believe," Dr. Ashford said. "We all are." The following Monday morning, Emma walked into Manhattan Memorial Hospital through the front entrance for the first time in 17 years. She wasn't wearing her gray uniform. Instead, she wore a simple blue dress that her daughter-in-law had helped her pick out over the weekend, and her hair was pulled back in a neat bun. She felt exposed, visible in a way she hadn't been in nearly 2 decades. The security guard at the desk did a double-take. "Emma, is that you?" She smiled. "Good morning, James. You look different." He glanced at his computer screen. "Says here you're supposed to go to the executive offices on the 7th floor. That's right. Moving up in the world, huh?" James grinned. "About damn time if you ask me. You've been the hardest worker in this place for as long as I can remember." Emma rode the elevator up, watching the numbers climb. Each floor brought back memories of the third floor where she'd once found a lost toddler wandering the halls at midnight, the fifth floor where she'd stayed late to help a young nurse clean up after a violent patient, the sixth floor where she'd quietly collected discarded medical journals from the trash and taught herself to read English medical terminology. The doors opened on the seventh floor, revealing a world she'd only ever cleaned, never inhabited. Plush carpeting, expensive artwork, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. Dr. Sterling's secretary looked up, her professional smile faltering when she saw Emma. "Can I help you?" "I have a meeting with Dr. Sterling." The secretary checked her computer, confusion flickering across her face. "You're Emma Rodriguez." "Yes." Oh, please have a seat. Dr. Sterling is finishing up another meeting, but he'll be right with you." Emma sat in one of the leather chairs, feeling the soft cushion beneath her. How many times had she vacuumed this very carpet early in the morning before anyone arrived? How many times had she wiped down these end tables, careful not to disturb the carefully arranged magazines? The door to Sterling's office opened, and out walked a man Emma recognized as the hospital's chief financial officer. He glanced at her without recognition and hurried past. "Emma!" Dr. Sterling appeared in the doorway. "Please come in." His office was even more impressive than the waiting area. A massive desk dominated the space, flanked by bookshelves filled with medical texts and framed certificates. Through the windows behind him, the morning sun painted the city in shades of gold. "Please sit." Dr. Sterling gestured to a chair across from his desk. Once Emma was seated, he leaned back in his own chair, studying her. "I'll be honest with you. I spent most of the weekend trying to figure out how to make this work. The board had concerns." "I imagine they did. But then Dr. Ashford sent me something." He turned his computer monitor so Emma could see it. It showed a spreadsheet filled with numbers. She pulled the data from every external version attempt we've had in the last 5 years. 103 attempts, 62 successful, 41 failures that resulted in emergency C-sections. He clicked to another page. She also pulled data on complications, maternal hemorrhage, fetal distress, prolonged labor following failed version. The numbers are concerning. "And my version?" Emma asked. 40 seconds from start to finish. 0 complications. Perfect positioning. Baby delivered 90 minutes later with no interventions. He shook his head. "Dr. Ashford called it the cleanest version she's ever witnessed." "It's not magic," Emma said. "It's knowledge. Knowledge that used to be standard practice." Dr. Sterling was quiet for a moment. "The board approved the funding. All $15 million. Michael Rivera is making the official announcement this afternoon, and we're holding a press conference tomorrow." "I don't want a press conference." "I'm afraid that's not optional. Rivera is donating $15 million. The hospital needs to show we're using it wisely." Dr. Sterling pulled out a folder. "These are your employment papers. You'll be listed as traditional birth consultant and director of the Rivera Center for Traditional Practices. Your salary is—" He named a figure that made Emma blink. "That's too much. That's what the position pays. If you're going to train our physicians and run a new department, you'll be compensated accordingly." He slid the papers across the desk. "There's also a signing bonus," Mr. Rivera insisted. Emma flipped through the documents, her eyes scanning the dense legal text. At the bottom of the last page was a line for her signature. "Before I sign," she said, "I need to know something. Are you doing this because you believe in what I can teach, or because you want Michael Rivera's money?" Dr. Sterling met her gaze. "Honestly, at first it was the money. $15 million can transform a department. But then I spent the weekend reviewing our outcomes, our patient satisfaction scores, our intervention rates. And I realized something." He paused. "We've gotten very good at handling emergencies, but we've forgotten how to prevent them from happening in the first place." "That's not entirely true," Emma said. "You prevent plenty of emergencies. You just do it with machines and medications and surgery. Sometimes that's necessary. Sometimes it's not. And you can teach us the difference." "I can try." Dr. Sterling nodded. "Then I'm not just doing this for the money. I'm doing it because our patients deserve better than a 42% C-section rate." Emma picked up the pen and signed her name. The signature was shaky. She'd signed so few important documents in her life, but it was hers. "Welcome to the medical staff," Dr. Sterling said, officially. "Thank you." Emma set down the pen. "When do I start?" "You already did. Dr. Ashford has assembled a team of 12 physicians who want to train with you. They're waiting in conference room B." Emma felt her heart rate pick up. 12 doctors, 12 to start. Word is spreading. By the end of the week, I expect we'll have 20. Dr. Sterling stood. I'll walk you down. They rode the elevator in silence. Emma could feel Sterling's eyes on her, assessing, wondering if he'd made the right decision. She understood the feeling. She was wondering the same thing. The elevator doors opened on the 5th floor, and they walked down a hallway Emma had mopped hundreds of times. But this time, she wasn't pushing a cart. This time, she was walking beside the chief of obstetrics as an equal. Before we go in, Dr. Sterling said, stopping outside the conference room door, I should warn you, not everyone is happy about this. Some of the older physicians are skeptical. They may challenge you. Let them, Emma said. My grandmother always said the hardest students become the best teachers once they learn. Dr. Sterling smiled slightly. I hope your grandmother was right. He pushed open the door, and Emma stepped into a room full of doctors. They sat around a long conference table, some with coffee cups, some with tablets and laptops. All of them turned to look at her. Dr. Ashford was at the head of the table. She stood. Everyone, this is Emma Rodriguez, our new traditional birth consultant. Emma, these are the physicians who volunteered for the initial training cohort. Emma scanned the faces. Most were curious, a few openly skeptical. One man, older with silver hair and a pristine white coat, had his arms crossed over his chest, his expression bordering on hostile. Thank you all for coming, Emma began. Her voice was steady despite the nervousness fluttering in her chest. I know this is unusual. Unusual? The silver-haired man cut her off. It's unprecedented. We're being asked to learn obstetrics from someone with no medical degree, no formal training, no peer-reviewed publications. Dr. Morrison, Dr. Ashford said warningly. No, let him speak, Emma said. She looked at Dr. Morrison directly. You're right, I have no medical degree. I can't read an EKG or interpret lab values or prescribe medications, but I can do something you can't. And what's that? I can turn a baby with my hands. I can read a labor pattern without a monitor. I can tell you if a baby is ready to be born or if it needs more time. Emma moved closer to the table. You know the science. You understand the physiology. But somewhere along the way, you forgot how to trust your own senses. I'm here to help you remember. Dr. Morrison snorted. This is ridiculous. We're going backwards, not forwards. Are we? Emma asked. Your C-section rate is 42%. In my village, it was 0%. Not because we didn't have access to surgery, but because we didn't need it. We knew how to position mothers, how to turn babies, how to work with the body instead of against it. Your village, Dr. Morrison said mockingly. Where was this magical village? El Salvador, a place where women gave birth without machines, without epidurals, without surgical suites. And you know what our maternal mortality rate was lower than yours. The room went silent. Dr. Morrison's face reddened. That's impossible. Is it? Emma pulled out a chair and sat down, claiming her space at the table. Or is it just uncomfortable to admit that maybe, just maybe, modern medicine doesn't have all the answers? Dr. Ashford cleared her throat. Actually, Emma's right. I looked up the statistics over the weekend. Rural El Salvador in the 1970s and 80s areas served by traditional midwives had lower maternal mortality rates than many modern hospitals today. The World Health Organization has documentation. Dr. Morrison sputtered. That can't, there must be other factors. There are always other factors, Emma agreed. But one of them is this: traditional midwives spend time with mothers. We learn their bodies, their patterns, their fears. We don't rush labor. We don't intervene unless necessary. We trust the process. She looked around the table. When was the last time any of you spent more than 10 minutes with a laboring mother? The silence was damning. That's what I thought, Emma said. So here's what we're going to do. For the next 3 months, you're going to shadow me. You're going to learn how to assess a labor without machines. You're going to practice external version on models until your hands know exactly what to feel for. You're going to sit with laboring mothers and just listen. Listen to what? Asked a younger doctor, genuinely curious. To everything. To the way they breathe, the sounds they make, the way their body moves during contractions. Every labor tells a story, but you have to pay attention to hear it. Emma stood and walked to the whiteboard at the front of the room. She picked up a marker and drew a simple circle, a pelvis. Then she added a smaller circle, a baby's head. This is what you think you understand, she said, pointing to the diagram. But this, she added quick lines showing different angles, positions, rotations. This is what you're missing. The subtle variations that make every birth different. The tiny adjustments that mean the difference between surgical and natural delivery. She drew for several more minutes, creating a complex diagram that showed baby positions none of them had seen in textbooks. When she finished, she turned back to the room. My grandmother taught me this when I was 12 years old. She used dirt and stones because we didn't have whiteboards, but the knowledge is the same. Emma set down the marker. So, yes, Dr. Morrison, we are going backwards. Because sometimes you have to go back to go forward. Sometimes you have to remember what you lost before you can move ahead. Dr. Morrison was staring at the whiteboard, his expression shifting from hostile to thoughtful. Where did you learn to draw like that? I didn't learn to draw. I learned to see. Emma touched the diagram. This is what I see when I put my hands on a pregnant belly. This is what you could see too if you're willing to learn. Dr. Ashford stood. I think Emma has made her point. So here's how this is going to work. We'll have training sessions 3 times a week. Emma will teach theory here, and we'll practice technique in the simulation lab. Additionally, Emma will be on call for any complex presentations. She'll consult on cases, and we'll learn by watching her work. What if there's an emergency? Another doctor asked. Then we handle it the way we always do, Dr. Ashford said. Emma isn't replacing modern medicine. She's supplementing it. She's giving us more tools, not taking away the ones we have. Emma nodded. I'm not here to make you feel bad about what you do. I'm here to help you do it better, to give mothers more options, to reduce unnecessary interventions. She looked at each of them in turn. Your knowledge is valuable. So is mine. Together we can help more mothers and babies than either of us could alone. Dr. Morrison uncrossed his arms. I still have reservations. Good, Emma said. Keep them. Question everything I teach you. That's how you learn. But also, she smiled. Be ready to be surprised. The meeting lasted another hour. Emma outlined her training program, answered questions, and demonstrated some basic palpation techniques on a volunteer doctor who was shocked to discover Emma could accurately estimate the position of her organs just by touch. By the time everyone filed out, Emma was exhausted, but it was a good exhaustion, the kind that came from using muscles that had been dormant for too long. Dr. Ashford hung back. That was incredible, especially how you handled Morrison. He'll be fine, Emma said, once he learns. The resistant ones always make the best students. I hope you're right. Dr. Ashford paused. Emma, I just want you to know what you're doing here. It's important, not just for this hospital, for all of medicine. Emma thought about her grandmother, about all the women who'd come before her, about the knowledge that had nearly died with them. It's not just important, she said quietly. It's necessary. If we don't remember where we came from, we can't know where we're going. The following afternoon, Michael Rivera held his press conference. Emma stood off to the side, uncomfortable in the spotlight, while Michael announced the creation of the Rivera Center for Traditional Birth Practices and the $15 million endowment. Reporters shouted questions, cameras flashed. Emma's face would be on the evening news in tomorrow's papers, but all she could think about was Charlotte and baby Luce safely at home now. All she could think about was the next mother who would come through those doors, the next baby who might need a gentle hand to guide them into the world. When the press conference ended, Michael pulled her aside. How does it feel? Emma thought about the question. Strange, she admitted. Surreal. Like I'm going to wake up tomorrow and find myself back in the supply closet with a mop. You won't, Michael assured her. This is real. You've earned this. I haven't earned anything, Emma said. I just did what I've always known how to do. The only difference is that now people are paying attention. That's exactly my point, Michael said. How many other people are out there right now with knowledge we're ignoring because they don't have the right credentials? How many janitors and home health aides and immigrants are we overlooking? Emma didn't have an answer, but she knew it was too many. 6 months later, Emma stood in a state-of-the-art training facility that hadn't existed before Michael Rivera's donation. The Rivera Center for Traditional Birth Practices occupied an entire wing of Manhattan Memorial Hospital with dedicated simulation labs, consultation rooms, and a small library filled with books on traditional midwifery from cultures around the world. The C-section rate at Manhattan Memorial had dropped from 42% to 18%. Patient satisfaction scores had increased by 30 points, and Emma had personally consulted on over 300 births with a success rate that had the medical community buzzing. Today she was teaching a class of 30 physicians, triple the original cohort. Even Dr. Morrison was there sitting in the front row with a notebook asking thoughtful questions about pelvic mechanics. The key, Emma was explaining, her hands moving over a realistic birthing simulator, is to work with the contractions, not against them. You wait for the uterus to relax, then you make your adjustment. If you try to force it during a contraction, you'll hurt the mother and stress the baby. She demonstrated the technique, her movements confident and practiced. The doctors watched intently, several of them taking notes on tablets. Dr. Chen, Emma said, gesturing to one of the younger physicians, "Come try." Dr. Chen approached nervously. She'd been one of Emma's most dedicated students, often staying late to practice techniques on the simulators. Emma guided her hands into position. "Feel that. That's the baby's head. Now tell me, which direction is it facing?" Dr. Chen closed her eyes, concentrating. "Left occiput anterior. Close. Left occiput transverse. The head needs to rotate about 15 degrees. Show me how you do that." Dr. Chen worked carefully, her movements mimicking what she'd seen Emma do dozens of times. The simulator gave realistic feedback, and after a few adjustments, the baby's head rotated into the optimal position. "Perfect," Emma said. "That's exactly right." Dr. Chen's face lit up. "I felt it. I actually felt when it moved into place." "That's the goal," Emma told the class. "Eventually, your hands will know what to do without you having to think about it. It becomes instinct." After the class ended, Emma returned to her office, a real office with her name on the door. She still couldn't quite believe it was hers. The walls were decorated with photos, Charlotte and baby Luce, now 6 months old and thriving. Her own grandchildren, whom she'd been able to bring to America with her new salary. Her grandmother in a faded photograph from the 1960s. There was a knock on her door. "Come in," Emma called. Dr. Ashford entered, followed by a young woman Emma didn't recognize. The woman looked nervous, twisting her hands together. "Emma, this is Dr. Sarah Lopez," Dr. Ashford said. "She's a resident at Columbia Presbyterian. She heard about our program and wanted to meet you." Emma stood, extending her hand. "Please sit, both of you." Dr. Lopez shook her hand, her grip firm despite her obvious nervousness. "Dr. Rodriguez, I can't believe I'm actually meeting you. You're kind of a legend." Emma laughed. 6 months ago, I was mopping floors. Now I'm a legend. The world moves fast. "That's exactly why I wanted to talk to you," Dr. Lopez said, sitting down. "My grandmother was a partera, a traditional midwife in Mexico. She delivered hundreds of babies. When I told my family I wanted to be a doctor, she gave me her notebooks. Decades of knowledge, all written in Spanish, all techniques she learned from her mother and grandmother. But you didn't know what to do with them," Emma guessed. "Exactly. In medical school, when I tried to talk about traditional techniques, my professors dismissed it as folklore, superstition. They said modern medicine had made all of that obsolete." Dr. Lopez pulled a worn notebook from her bag. "But then I heard about what you're doing here, and I realized my grandmother's knowledge doesn't have to die with her generation." Emma took the notebook carefully. The pages were yellowed and brittle, covered in cramped handwriting. She recognized some of the techniques immediately: positions for difficult labors, herbal preparations for postpartum healing, massage techniques to stimulate contractions. "This is treasure," Emma said softly. "Your grandmother documented everything." "I want to learn how to use it," Dr. Lopez said. "I want to be able to honor her knowledge while still practicing modern medicine." "Is that possible?" "It's not just possible," Emma said. "It's necessary." She looked at Dr. Ashford. "How do you feel about expanding our program to Columbia Presbyterian?" Dr. Ashford smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that. Actually, we've had inquiries from 6 other hospitals in the New York area. Everyone wants to learn what we're doing here." "Then we teach them," Emma said simply. "We train trainers. We create a network of physicians who understand both modern medicine and traditional wisdom." She turned back to Dr. Lopez. "And we translate notebooks like these, preserve this knowledge, make it accessible to everyone." Dr. Lopez's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. You don't know what this means to me, to my family." "I do know," Emma said, "because I carried my grandmother's knowledge for 17 years with no one to share it with. It's a heavy burden, but together we can make it lighter." Over the next few months, the program expanded rapidly. Emma trained 12 lead instructors who went out to hospitals across the country. The C-section rate at participating institutions began to drop. Articles appeared in medical journals, peer-reviewed studies showing the effectiveness of combining traditional midwifery techniques with modern obstetric care. Emma was invited to speak at medical conferences, at universities, at grand rounds, at prestigious hospitals. She always said the same thing. The knowledge was always there. You just had to be willing to listen to the people you'd been ignoring. One afternoon, Emma returned from a teaching session to find Charlotte waiting in her office with Luce, who was now crawling and babbling constantly. "Emma!" Luce toddled toward her, arms outstretched. Emma scooped her up, feeling the solid weight of the child she'd helped bring into the world. "Look at you, so big now." "She's been asking for Emma all morning," Charlotte said, smiling. "I think you're her favorite person." "I doubt that," Emma said, but she was pleased. She set Luce down, and the toddler immediately went to explore Emma's bookshelf, pulling out volumes and flipping through them. "I have news," Charlotte said. "I'm enrolled in nursing school. I start in the fall." Emma felt warmth spread through her chest. "Charlotte, that's wonderful. I've been thinking about it since Luce was born. Watching you work, seeing how you help people, I want to do that too." Charlotte paused. "I'm focusing on maternal health. I want to work with teen mothers, single mothers, women who don't have support systems. I want to be for them what you were for me." "You'll be amazing at it," Emma said sincerely. "My dad's paying for school, obviously," Charlotte said, "but I told him I want to earn the rest on my own. Work, study scholarships, whatever it takes, because this has to be mine. You know, not something he bought for me." "I'm proud of you," Emma said, and she meant it. This young woman who'd been so lost, so afraid, had found her purpose. Sometimes that's what birth did. It transformed not just babies, but mothers too. Luce had pulled out a photo album and was pointing at pictures. Emma sat down next to her, and together they looked through the photos. Pictures from the past 6 months. Emma teaching Emma, consulting Emma, holding newborn babies, and mixed in photos of Emma's own family who'd finally joined her in America. "Is this your granddaughter?" Charlotte asked, pointing to a picture of a teenage girl. "Yes, Maria. She's 15 now." Emma traced the photo with her finger. "She wants to be a doctor, a real doctor with all the degrees. But she also wants to learn what I know. She says she wants to bridge both worlds. Like Dr. Lopez. Like a lot of people now," Emma said. "The next generation doesn't see it as either or. They see it as both, and modern medicine and traditional wisdom working together." "That's because of you," Charlotte said. "You changed the conversation." "I didn't change anything," Emma protested. "I just kept doing what I've always done. The world finally decided to pay attention." But Charlotte shook her head. "No, you fought for this. You stood up when everyone was telling you to be quiet. You insisted on being heard." She reached over and squeezed Emma's hand. "You changed my life. You changed Luce's life. And you're changing how medicine thinks about birth. That's not nothing." Emma looked at this young mother, at the child playing happily at their feet, at the photos documenting a transformation she still couldn't quite believe was real. Maybe Charlotte was right. Maybe it wasn't nothing. That evening, Emma gave an informal guest talk at Columbia University Medical School. The auditorium was packed, not just with medical students, but with nursing students, midwifery students, even some undergraduate pre-med students looking for inspiration. Emma stood at the podium, looking out at hundreds of eager faces. It still felt strange being the one doing the teaching instead of the cleaning. But she was getting used to it. 9 months after that chaotic night in the delivery room, Emma stood at a podium in Columbia University's medical school auditorium. 400 seats packed with students, residents, professors. People stood along the walls, sat in aisles. This was the distinguished lecture on innovation in medicine, the highest honor the medical school bestowed. And they'd chosen Emma, a woman who'd spent 17 years cleaning their floors. "Knowledge doesn't live in degrees." Emma began, her voice steady. "It lives in hands that have done the work, minds that have learned from experience, hearts that remember." She clicked to her first slide, Abuela Lu Young, and strong hands on a pregnant belly. "This is my grandmother. She delivered 2,000 babies in rural El Salvador. She couldn't read or write, but she could diagnose a baby's position by touch. She predicted labor patterns with accuracy that modern monitors would envy. She saved lives every day for 40 years. Next slide, Emma at 12, watching her grandmother work by lamplight. "This is me learning. I didn't know I was being trusted with something precious. I thought I was just helping deliver babies. But my grandmother was passing down knowledge, refined over centuries, understanding of birth that doesn't come from textbooks." Another slide, Emma in her gray uniform, mop in hand. This is me at Manhattan Memorial. For 17 years, I cleaned floors while carrying all that knowledge in my head. No one asked what I knew. No one thought someone in this uniform could offer anything valuable to medicine. I was invisible. She paused, letting the image sink in. I could have died with this knowledge still locked inside me, and no one would have known what was lost. The next slide showed the delivery room, Emma's hands on Charlotte's belly, surrounded by 15 doctors. But one night, a young mother was dying. A baby was stuck. 15 of the best doctors in the country didn't know what to do. Emma's voice strengthened. So I spoke up. I stopped being invisible, and everything changed. For 40 minutes, Emma shared her journey. She showed data C-section rates, dropping patient satisfaction, soaring maternal outcomes improving. She demonstrated techniques on volunteers, showing how to palpate with precision, how to read labor without monitors. She shared videos of successful births of mothers avoiding surgery of babies born gently and safely. I'm asking you to do something uncomfortable, Emma said as she neared the end. Admit that maybe you don't know everything. Learn from people you might normally overlook. The cleaning staff, the home health aides, the immigrants, the grandmothers. They carry knowledge you need. Her final slide, Abuela Lu's weathered hands cradling a newborn. These hands delivered 2,000 babies with no degree, no license, no certification. But they had knowledge, skill, and compassion. That's what we're recovering, not to replace modern medicine, but to enhance it. To remember, we're not just treating bodies. We're caring for human beings, bringing new life into the world. The applause was thunderous. 400 people stood honoring not just Emma, but the tradition she represented. During the Kwanda, hands shot up across the auditorium. How do we learn what you know? One student asked. Be humble enough to accept teaching from unexpected sources. Emma answered. Pay attention to people you might ignore. Remember, you don't know everything, no matter how many degrees you have. What about students who want to honor traditional knowledge? Another asked. Talk to your grandmothers. Ask what they know about healing, about birth, about caring for the sick. Write it down. Document it. Don't let knowledge die because it didn't come from textbooks. A young woman in the back stood. My mother is a curandera, a traditional healer. I've been embarrassed to tell people. After hearing you, I realize I was wrong. You were wrong, Emma agreed gently. Your mother has knowledge medical schools don't teach. Honor that. Learn from her. Then teach us. We need what you know. After the lecture, Emma was surrounded by students wanting photos, asking questions. She stayed for over an hour, answering each one patiently. Finally, as the crowd thinned, a young woman approached. Early 20s, dark hair in a ponytail, intelligent eyes that reminded Emma of herself at that age. Dr. Rodriguez, I'm Luz Morales. Emma's heart skipped. Another Luz. My grandmother was a partera in Guatemala, the young woman said. She taught me everything she knew, but I didn't value it. I thought I'd be a real doctor, and her methods seemed primitive. Her voice broke. She died last year. I can't remember half of what she taught me. I was too busy looking forward to pay attention. Emma took the young woman's hand. You haven't lost it. Knowledge like that doesn't disappear. It waits until you're ready to remember. Will you teach me? Come to the Rivera Center, Emma said. We have programs for medical students. You'll shadow me. Learn the techniques. Remember what your grandmother taught you. Thank you, Luz whispered. You don't know what this means. I do know, Emma said, because someone gave me the same chance. Now I'm passing it forward. 3 months later, Emma stood in the Rivera Center's main classroom with Luz Morales and 12 other students, all of them carrying traditional knowledge from their families, all of them learning to bridge old wisdom and new science. The program had expanded to 47 hospitals across 12 states. The data continued to impress: reduced interventions, better outcomes, happier mothers. But more than statistics, what Emma had created was a movement, a remembering, a reclaiming of knowledge that had nearly been lost. One evening, Charlotte visited with 3-year-old Luce toddling beside her. Emma! The little girl cried, running into Emma's arms. She tells everyone she's going to catch babies when she grows up, Charlotte said, smiling. Just like you. Emma held the child she'd helped bring into the world. Maybe you will, Pequeña. Maybe you'll keep this knowledge alive for the next generation. That night, Emma sat at her kitchen table with Abuela Lu's journal pages yellow and fragile ink, faded but readable. She turned to the final entry written before her grandmother died. The knowledge doesn't belong to us. It belongs to every woman who will give birth, every baby who needs gentle welcome into this world. Our job is to pass it on. Emma Mia, if you're reading this, I'm gone. But the knowledge lives in you. Don't let them silence you. Don't let them tell you what you know doesn't matter. Speak up. Be brave. Save lives. Emma traced her grandmother's handwriting with her finger. I did it, abuela, she whispered. I spoke up. I was brave. And I'm saving lives. She looked out at the New York skyline lights twinkling like stars. Somewhere in this city a woman was laboring. Somewhere a baby was preparing to be born. And now there were doctors who knew how to help with machines, and with hands with science, and with wisdom. The knowledge would live on. In Dr. Ashford and Dr. Morrison and Dr. Luce, in young Luce Morales, and all the students learning to honor tradition while embracing progress. In Charlotte's daughter, who might become exactly what she dreamed. The light would continue. From one generation to the next, from one pair of hands to another, from darkness into dawn. Emma Rodriguez, invisible for 17 years, had become a beacon. And in her light, countless others were learning to shine.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.